Let's talk to Lucy White. She's a public policy specialist. Joins us once again. Hello, Lucy White.
Hi, Julia.
Thank
How are
you
you?
for joining us. Very well indeed. Good to have you on the show. Now, there's a number of different stories here. One is the latest migration numbers. Not official yet, but it would appear that we had 900 arrivals yesterday, because the official figures up to yesterday were 19,100 arrivals so far this year. And we've already had some statements coming out that at 20,000 arrivals so far, record arrivals, 40% or something up on where we were this time last year. It would appear, going out on a limb here, not the end of the year yet, I don't think Keir Starmer has smashed the gangs. Do you?
No, absolutely not. But what I think is more startling is if we take a look back to 2018, there were only 299 individuals that crossed illegally by small boat. That was in 2018, less than 300. And now this year alone, the year ending March 2025, there have been 38,000 illegal boat crossings of individuals, which is actually 127 times more in the last 7 years. So what on earth has happened in those?
Well, I mean, look, there was a massive closing down of the routes through lorries and on ferries. They had a clampdown on that, and so people moved to the boats. And of course, we've had a big number of people getting involved in the smuggling gangs. There's this exponential rise. But clearly it's not being dealt with. But there's been quite a lot of anger in terms of what migrants are doing once they're here, claiming asylum. Virtually all of them are intercepted in the middle of the channel, and then they come on and they claim asylum. And the Sun exposed last week these drivers working illegally. They're here illegally, they've arrived illegally, they're put in an asylum hotel or asylum hostel, and then they basically work illegally. They get a few hundred quid, even more than that, a week. They buy up a license, effectively a pass, from someone who's registered as a Deliveroo, Just Eats or Uber Eats a driver, rider, and they basically buy up, and then they earn all that money, and they're working illegally while we're paying for asylum hotels. I'm sure you're as pleased as I were to see that there has actually been at least some tentative action. Immigration police are actually cracking down on those riders yesterday after the Sun exposed the racket, and have actually seen some arrests. But is that going to be enough?
Well, what I think is concerning is that the job of immigration enforcement is actually to ensure that the immigration system works and that it's not being abused. And what I find concerning is that why would it take a journalist from the Sun to expose something, to push immigration tools into action? So on one hand, the positive outcome of this story is that people like us and journalists at the Sun must continue to expose these problems, because the more we expose them, we essentially force immigration enforcement into action.
Which they wouldn't do otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they must have been aware of this. Apparently, these hostels and hotels, they've just got, dozens and dozens of these bikes with all the big boxes with the logos on. But no, didn't think they were being used to actually work, with knowing that it was illegal for these asylum seekers to work.
Well, I think the main issue, Julia, is that we have corruption embedded within the Home Office. So we had the case of a man called Imran Mullah, who would say to asylum seekers, OK, I will grant you asylum if you pay me, I don't know, £2,000 or £3,000 in cash. Yeah. And he was exposed. And quite frankly,
been convicted,
Yes, exactly. So we know that there's corruption within the Home Office. And quite frankly, this is our border force. I believe that there should just be British nationals working in the Home Office, because we have our best interests for the country at that job. Yeah. But someone such as Imran Mullah, I'm sorry, that's not exactly a British national name. He clearly
No, Lucy. I mean, I'm sorry. There's no. I mean, I'm not being PC here, but people could have been here from a number of generations and have that name. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I do think that someone such as Imran Mullah, regardless of his name, is in the Home Office to take advantage of.
Okay, well, my grandparents came from Ireland. My husband's had got clearly Irish names, but I mean, I think you're entering into territory which we don't need to go into to make the point personally. But look, let's also talk about. They're going to have arrests. We're told that they're going to arrest these people. Don't know what they're going to do with them. They're already here illegally. They're not putting them in prison, are they? And they're going to be arrested. They've not got any money to pay a fine, because of course it's all cash in hand when they get that money. But then these people haven't got a bank account here, I'm assuming. but then they're going to seize their bikes and seize their phones. One assumes they're just going to steal another phone and another bike, realistically, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. I mean, what's also concerning is that 67% of these asylum cases have been approved, about 51,000 since 2018. We've had about one third of them rejected. But the question is, if there are further Home Office workers that were sort of mishandling these cases, I think we need to look back over the last 7 years as to who has been accepted and not.
Yeah.
And, I do believe in the detain and deport policy. I don't think they should be granted luxury hotels in London, or even if they're not luxury, you have people that work in London, they have to commute an hour and a half to get into the city. Yeah. They go back, they pay a lot of money on the train. And then you have the illegal migrants in the hotels who are not having to pay to commute. Yeah. They're already there in London.
I mean, again, they shouldn't be in private housing. They shouldn't be in hotels. The reality is they're going to have to be taken abroad. It's as simple as that. That's the only deterrent that's going to actually work. Lucy White, we'll have to leave it there. Time's Against public policy specialist there. Lucy White, thank you.